way in which you get paid for play.
Alright everyone, we're ready to start our pick a card video. Today we're going to be looking at the question, what do they want us to know but are afraid to tell us, right? What do they want me to know but are afraid to tell me? Alright, and as usual, we've got 3 stacks of cards here, and if you've been watching the shuffling, hopefully you've taken some time to focus your attention on the stack of cards that you choose, that called out to you. We have 1, 2, and 3. All right, and we're gonna go right into it. We're gonna start right off with the first stack. And if you picked stack 2 or if you picked stack 3, then you can go ahead into the description. At the very top of the description, the timestamps are there, and you'll be able to go directly to your reading. All right, so let's hope, I think we have enough space, but I'm gonna move these up a little bit just to make sure we have enough space. All right, we're gonna get right into reading number 1. The first thing we're gonna do is pull out the 2 cards. Your 2 animal spirit cards are Spider Energy and Beaver Energy. So Beaver is actually water element and Spider is earth. Okay, and so we're gonna get into that and see who that really is, right? But we have at the top, we have your person, their cards. Okay, and these cards are going to represent how they feel about you, or how they feel about the relationship, right? And the reason why. So these are their true feelings, right? We're going to look at how they truly feel about the relationship. Now, these cards down here are going to be your cards and how you also feel, how you feel about them, and how you feel about the relationship. We've also got our 2 sacred oracle cards that we're going to look at. All right, and that's how we're going to approach this question. So let's get right into it. Let me move these up some more so we can get all of our cards in, and you can see all of them. All right, there we go. All right, so we have all your cards and your 2 animal spirits. So let's get right into it. Beaver Energy. First and foremost, Beaver Energy is quite beautiful. Beaver Energy is very protective, very family oriented. All right, the beaver works very hard. It's water energy, right? You would think beaver might be earth energy, but the beavers live on the river, right? And they build these incredible homes for their families. The one thing about the beavers is that they're very tenacious. Once they get a goal in mind, they're going to keep working on that goal until it's done. All right. The beaver just keeps working away, keeps working away, keeps working away. And everything that they really work for always is really in protection of the family and in protection of the home. Now, the spider is quite interesting as an animal spirit because the spider is an earth element animal. And here we talk about the ability, well, first of all, agility, right? The spider is very methodical, very thoughtful, very creative in spinning the web, right? Spider energy, though, is also about being very intricate, right? Spiders they weave webs, so they can play, I want to say, games at times. Because what we're looking at now is we're looking at, this question of what is it that they want to tell us, but they're afraid to tell us. So inherent in that question is that, I don't want to say deception per se, but we're talking about a scenario where someone isn't being completely truthful with you, right? They're not being 100% real with you. And one of the things we're looking at now is why. Okay, so this is not a reading for like, this is how we interpret the cards because of the way we're looking at the question. And so when we see spider energy is very kind of, spider represents Dharma as well. It's just basically the way we work, right? Now, the spider is quite ingenious. They're quite creative. They can sort of like spin this kind of really intricate web. And so I think this animal spirit represents your person, because here we're talking about somebody who's very, perhaps even manipulative at times. Everything is kind of done to their ultimate purpose, right? When you spinning this web is kind of like, they plan ahead, you know what I mean? They're kind of premeditated in a lot of what they do, right? And so when we're talking about somebody who's not telling you something, who doesn't want you to know something for a certain reason, this person is quite intentional about it, all right? Now, spiders also, generally their webs are supposed to support, right? Should support the spider and obviously those around them, you would think, right? Financially, spiritually, right? But the spider is very kind of like detail-oriented, object-oriented, right? And so when we talk about the web being a financial or a spiritual support, it can be that this person does not want you to know the true nature of their finances, right? So we're saying that perhaps this individual is not being 100% truthful about where they're getting their money, how they're getting their money. They may be saying that they're able to support you, but can't, And so I think here we have a scenario, if we're just looking at the animal spirits and the dynamic between the two of them, we've got one person, which I believe is you, asking the question. You're working away, you're working away for the family. You're working with this water elemental animal spirit, so you're quite emotional about it. You feel quite passionate about it. You feel like the support, or I would say that the weight of the family is on you. Yet your spider person probably tries to, they probably try to put on this act or front or this impression that they're the ones who support the family, that they're the ones who are doing everything. And I think that a part of that is manipulation. And I think a part of it is what they want you to believe or what they want the world to believe, when the truth of the matter is that really you're the rock, because you're the beaver in this scenario. You're the one who's really getting it done. Whereas in this case, I believe the spider is really kind of like more busy with giving a certain impression than they are with the actual work, right? And so let's get right into it. Your person, how do they really feel about themselves? Well, they feel like they're the cat that got the milk, They feel like, the cat that got the cream in a way. Seven of Swords is quite interesting. Seven of Swords is like this energy of like, na, 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 na. I won. I got it. I got it before you got it. I stole your dreams. You weren't looking and I took it. This is kind of very, 7 is the number for dreams and aspirations. So in Seven of Swords, we talk about somebody who's willing to cut corners to get what they want, right? And so covering this, why? So this is how we read the cards. This is your person, how they feel about themselves. This card is the card that covers the energy. It's telling you why. Why? Because this person is very, very haughty, very arrogant. Seven of Wands is all about a victory. And so your person is probably not telling you the truth about how they're accomplishing things. They may get things or accomplish things, but they may be resorting to theft. They may be resorting to deception. They're cutting corners. They're cutting corners. You can see in the character, he's running away with 5 of the swords like a thief in the night. But the reason why is because on the surface, he wants to give off this impression of being like a Leo. This is Mars and Leo energy. He wants to give off the impression of being a winner, And how do you feel? Well, the way you feel is the Hierophant. And why is this happening? Because you are representing as the Hierophant. So you've got the high level of morals in this situation, right? You're coming across as the person who would never really accept this kind of behavior. And this is why they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know what's really going on because they know that you wouldn't approve of it. They know that you would not be happy with their choices. They realize that the way they're acting will probably cross a moral code for you. All right? And so if you're dealing with somebody, especially, this is quite interesting because these cards are very kind of like, the message is very clear so far. If you're the one who's come to this question, you're dealing with somebody, you just don't understand why things never really quite work out with your person the way they should. An example would be, they're never quite able to get the job, right? They make it sound like everything is perfect, everything is in line, everything is working, they've done everything. This is what they're telling you, right? And then all of a sudden, something always happens at the last minute and it just falls through. And you're always of this impression that, well, they tried so hard, but it just doesn't happen for them. The truth of the matter is that they haven't tried nearly as hard as they've told you. They've been keeping it from you, that in fact they probably haven't tried at all in some cases, that they've been really cheating, and in some cases they've been doing things like in a very inappropriate manner and making it seem as though that they have been very altruistic or very above board. Some of you may be dealing with a real deadbeat who is putting on these kind of airs, and you being representing as Hierophant, just the fact of even assuming that they're lying kind of goes against your grain, because you're already like not, clearly you're feeling something because you've come to this reading. But it's hard for you to kind of accept that they would actually lie to the degree that they're lying. Some of you are dealing with someone who is really lying to you significantly. Like significantly. And let me tell you, when I say significant, I've known scenarios where people have where people have been dating someone who's lied about reasons they've been in jail, and the real reasons were like horrendous. I've known people who've been involved with somebody who's lied about having lost a child through some horrific accident that was their fault to garner pity, and the truth of the matter is that their child never died. It was alive and well. But they were purporting this lie to get sympathy. When I tell you that people are willing to lie about things that you cannot imagine, people are willing to lie about things that you cannot imagine. And I think very much right here what's going on, I'm not saying the lies are that significant, but what I'm saying in this scenario, your person doesn't want you to know something that is quite significant about how they get the things that they get. Now, how do they see the relationship? Interestingly enough, they see the relationship as not how do they see the relationship. This is the card for a relationship. How do they see you? They see you as a Page of Cups, right? So they see interacting with you or see you as a Page of Cups, meaning that they see that you are quite young. I think they perceive that you may be quite naive. I don't think it's in a bad way, okay? But I think that the truth of the matter is that they probably give you the impression that they think that they love you, right? They give you the impression that they love you, and I think that in their own kind of way, they do probably care for you. but I think they see you as being very vulnerable, very naive. I think part of that is their attraction. They're attracted to you because of that. But I think part of that also is what allows them to feel as though they can get away with what they get away with. You know, I think they see themselves as being older and wiser than you. And so in a way, you don't need to know about all of their, you know, strategies. And we have Four of Swords covering this as a cross energy. Four of Swords talks about, you know, falling back, retreating to your corner, strategizing. Four of Swords is taking a step back to strategize. And so I see this person sees you as somebody who's, you know, too naive, in a way, too naive. And again, I'm not saying that this is the truth, but they see you in a way as though, like, you don't need to know about their strategies. You don't need to know about how they get what, you know, how they get what they get, how they do what they do. You know, they see this as their form of stability. They consider, because 4 is also the number for stability. And so to maintain this stability, they also treat you like that. And so they feel as though, as long as they give you like little tokens of love, you know, as long as they do this kind of Page of Cups energy, which is just to, like, you know, they just give you little tokens of love. They feel like it's enough. They feel like that's enough for you, and you don't need to know any more about what they really get up to. For some of you who are dealing with a very masculine energy here, and again, not gender specific, but just an extremely masculine energy, this is the type of masculine individual who's like, you know, who will tell you point blank, you don't need to know how I do what I do. All you need to know is that I get it done. But then they never get it done. Right? They never get it done. And it's a form of kind of a manipulation. It's like a head trip. And they don't tell you why. You know, they don't tell you why because they don't feel like you need to know. So I know when we ask this question, what do they want me to know but are afraid to tell me? How does that fit in with this type of individual? Well, the truth of the matter is that with an individual like this, you know, and with all people who are being deceptive, they really, you know, they truly do want the cat to be let out of the bag. You know what I mean? Like, because at some point they can't, like, keep up the facade, right? They keep strategizing, but the victory keeps being just a shallow, temporary victory. They never seem to achieve what they say they're going to achieve. And so this individual is starting to probably feel a lot of pressure. Now, when this type of person feels pressure, they're probably going to blame you for the pressure. This is the type of person who's going to, because of the way they've been acting, they're starting to feel the pressure to perform or to deliver, which they can't because of the way they've been acting. And so this pressure starts to build up and turns into anger. And 9 times out of 10, this type of person is going to project their anger on you. And they're going to begin to start to blame you for their failures. How do you see your person? How do you feel about your person? Anxiety. And this is why you've come to this reading, because you've started to feel anxiety. You started to have sleepless nights about this individual. I think you started to realize that they're all talk and no action. I think that there is a level of mental manipulation here, again, where this person really sweet talks you. And so you're really kind of in a space where you're feeling very worried, very anxious. You know something isn't quite right. You're coming with Beaver energy, which is water elemental, so you can feel that things aren't quite right here, right? You can feel that, you know, the energy isn't the way it's supposed to be. And your person as well is probably, like I said, he's probably starting to pull back from you. For some of you, this individual is getting angry with you. For some of you, this individual is pulling back. You know, they're pulling back now all of a sudden. Almost like, you know, one of the extremes that this type of individual can display is just like, yeah, all this time they've been talking about all these wonderful things they're going to do and blah, 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 and then it hasn't happened. And then after a sequence of failures, suddenly they just pull back. They pull back as if all the promises they've made, they never made them. They act as if they never said all these things, and they just start to pull back, and you ask them what's going on, and they act as though nothing's happening. Oh, nothing's happening. I'm just kind of, that's me. I'm just living my life. It's like, wait a minute. A minute ago, you were all about us and our life, and it's like, what happened? So this is another way of avoiding responsibility for people like this. So, you have the avoidance where they just pull back and you just can't understand why. You don't understand. Or they have this aggression that they direct at you and they blame you. And then after that, they still pull back. Either way, they eventually pull back away from you because they can't face the situation anymore. People like this only stay in situations as long as they can keep the ruse up, as long as they can keep up the fantasy. Once the reality starts to kick in, it's too much reality for them as well. They can't even keep up the fantasy for themselves, and inevitably they will leave or pull away from the situation, either just directly or after a period of anger. Now, how do they see the situation? Look at this. They see it as failure, misery. This is just what I just said. They're starting to feel like the pressure of this relationship is too much. They're starting to now think of all the other relationships they've probably screwed up in the past. The power dynamic is changing. And I would say that they're probably pulling away now from the relationship because, again, it's starting to come out, isn't it? These victories are just so short-lived, they're just not happening. Seven of Wands, is this kind of like, as well, it's not only victory, but it's like the valor of victory. Seven of Wands is also, this person acts like the world is always against them. It's me against the world. The world is against me, Everything that's happening to me is happening to me because I'm so brave and I'm so strong and people hate it when I win. And it's all this just utter bullshit. None of it is real. None of it is true. Nobody's against this individual. This individual is just like a liar and a cheat and unwilling to do the hard work that is needed to get things. They're willing to use their gift of gab to kind of keep you satiated and happy and thinking everything's okay. And now they're pulling away. And why are they pulling away? Because of the Five of Swords. The arguments are starting to happen. They feel defeated. They're pulling away because they feel that, see the fives, it's interesting, 5 on 5. 5 is the number for power struggle. We have 5 of Swords, and 5 of Pentacles. So think about this. We talk about a huge power struggle here, folks. Right? 5s all across. So yes, power struggle in a relationship, they're pulling away. Power struggle in the sense that they realize they're losing. The bickering has begun. They can't explain themselves anymore. All of the excuses they've used before don't work anymore. They don't want you to really know the truth which is that they are a failure. They can't really achieve anything because they really are losers. They don't want to put the effort in. Why don't they want you to know? Because they don't want to kill the illusion for themselves. They don't want to face up to the truth themselves. This is the person, again, like I say, who creates an illusion with somebody, and when that illusion starts to crack and reality starts to come in, they can't face it and they will leave that relationship. There's nothing you can do because once the truth comes out, they simply can't be with you anymore because their fantasy can't be fulfilled anymore. There's nothing that you can do to keep a person like this. 5 of Pentacles is how you see the relationship. Yeah, now you're poverty stricken as a result of dealing with this person. They've made so many promises and you believe them and they never followed through, right? And they were too afraid to tell anybody the truth because, God forbid, they would have to face up to the fact that they are utter failures themselves. Again, this type of individual, you can never, don't think for a second that you can somehow fix this person, or if you love them enough, they can stop feeling like a failure and acting like this. This is someone who is fundamentally opposed to doing all of the things they need to do. Not only are they afraid to face themselves, but they're lazy. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the work. Faced with the option of doing the work the right way, doing things the right way, taking the time, having patience, living with no money. This is the type of person who lives in poverty but has like $1,000 worth of clothes on them, all hot, all stolen, or all bought with hot money or stolen or laundered money, but they live in a dump. Why? Because true kind of like success never comes to this individual. They like to put on the airs of success. So there's no way you can love this person into a good place. What they actually desire, what they desire in their hearts is shallow things. It's money, it's status, it's the way people look at them. You can't fix that in a person. That's something that has to change over many lifetimes, many lessons, right? That's not something you can love out of a person. And so for some of you, you're coming here. This reading is, if this resonates with you, it's I feel for you, because it's like this realization about this person for some of you has only come now at a stage where you're now experiencing financial hardship because of dealing with them. Five of Pentacles is poverty. It's paying the price for being in a relationship that is now falling apart, and now you're paying the price financially, specifically financially, right? I would suggest you don't take this individual back if they try to come back. I doubt they will, though. Again, people like this generally aren't the type to come back and forth, back and forth. Certainly once the illusion is broken, you kind of see them for who they are. They very rarely will go back, because what they seek is an illusion again. They seek always this kind of like, this fantasy life. And if the fantasy is ruined with you, they can't ever really regain it with you. And so generally, these type of individuals are the type who will just leave without a word. You'll never hear from them again, or they'll leave in a huff, or they'll leave, or they'll be so angry and hostile and violent with you that you have to break up. And you know what I mean? It's like they somehow come up with a reason to break up and never see you again. All right, so when we look at Pandora's Gift and Come to Life, we have two really beautiful and interesting cards for this reading. Firstly, Pandora's Gift. Pandora's Gift is one of forgiveness. Forgiveness and insight, right? So she reminds you that sometimes seeing the truth is quite painful, right? And this is quite a specific message to Pandora's Gift, because I want to say that some of you here who have been dealing with this person, as a result of the way they've been dealing with you, you guys have been feeling you've taken on some guilt, right? You've taken on some misplaced guilt, maybe for some of you, some misplaced shame. And now, it's like now that you're realizing the truth, right? It's almost like you're feeling ashamed all over again. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like the person you were dealing with made you feel bad about yourself. You certainly for projecting onto you, right? And now that you see the truth of the type of person that you've been dealing with, and how they've kind of in a way cheated you or lied to you, how they've maybe fooled you, it's almost like you feel ashamed all over again for being fooled. It's like you almost blame yourself again. You kind of find a way to blame yourself again. And it's like Pandora's Gift is this. It's like she tells us that, listen, sometimes seeing the truth is difficult. Sometimes seeing the truth is hard. Sometimes experiencing something is painful. Learning a lesson in life is painful. But you should not be ashamed of that pain. You should not be ashamed of having learned or having had to learn that lesson. Let go of misplaced shame that you put on yourself. Let go of misplaced guilt that you allow others to put on you, right? Understand that sometimes we go through very difficult periods. Sometimes we go through very difficult lessons, right? Because we all need to learn various lessons. It's not our fault. It's not your fault that, it's not a case of fault. Lessons don't happen because you you somehow deserve them because you did something. Lessons happen because they must. They simply must. In order to learn, you must learn through lessons. You know, and a lot of us kind of mistake the experience or the lessons that are presented to us in our lives as somehow a punishment or as some kind of payback, you know, or some kind of judgment because we're being told that we have to go through this. And letting go of all of that is Pandora's gift, right? Understanding that it's time to let go now, right? It's time to let yourself be free. It's time to not judge yourself or not be tied down by judging yourself for being human, right? For having gone through a difficult phase, for having dealt with somebody who was now in your eyes maybe not such a good person, you know, maybe an abusive person, you know. It's okay though. You went through this and you opened up your eyes and you're learning the truth now. But don't go forward with shame. Go forward with releasing guilt and releasing shame. You know, try to turn that into a moment of being proud that you were able to get through it and that you were able to wake up from it. And interestingly enough, we have come to life, which is very compatible because now as you release this guilt, this shame for having been in this situation in the first place, now that you see the truth of what's been going on, it's time for you to come to life. Come to Life talks about feeling yourself again, being sensual again, not caring what the world thinks of you, going inside of yourself and seeing the beauty inside of yourself. Sometimes this will come out in a desire to paint or to draw or to write or to create something beautiful. If that's what you're feeling right now, then go for it. That's a natural byproduct of kind of having an awakening inside yourself. We naturally become more creative and want to express ourselves more creatively. Draw yourself, literally, into life. And I think that this has come as well because as a result of dealing with this kind of toxic individual who's really like put you through it, who's really, and in this case, this person has really just done a lot of out and out lying and deceiving. And again, we know for why, because they're very shallow and very childish and very egotistical and unable themselves to admit their faults. When you deal with somebody like this, it can be very oppressive. If you can see the card, she's in black and white and she's starting to come into color with the paintbrush, right? With this little paint bucket held by the little monkey, right? So this is letting you know, right? Come back. The crow on her shoulder, I believe it is a small crow, you know, is indicating going inside again. It's indicating the occult, mysticism, meditation, all of those things, right? Using those tools to get back to who you are. You can see the little fronds of grass growing between the tiles is as if to say that there's little bits of, you see that? There's little bits of creativity starting to come through. You know, there's a bit of color starting to come back to her face and to her lips. You know, it just indicates a period of coming out of being in a real gray period, a real oppressive period, where you just haven't felt very creative or expressive at all. And now you're kind of free, right? Now you're free. For those of you who this resonates with, please follow that feeling. You know, follow it to its natural conclusion. All right, this is your reading, okay? I'm going to go ahead and speed up the filming now as I put away the cards. And I'm going to say pretty much by the time I'm done talking, we will be ready for the next reading. All right. Here we go into the next reading, folks. This is reading number 2, stack number 2, and we're going to get your animal cards right out. We have camel and vulture energy. Interesting. Camel is actually fire and vulture is air energy. Okay. So we're going to get right into those two. That is interesting. The vulture talks about being a necessary evil in a way, right? They're almost a necessary evil. And the camel is certainly very kind of enduring energy, but we'll get right into it. Your person's cards. Your card, the reasons for the energies. Interesting, interesting. How you feel? And your oracle cards. All right? And I'm going to repeat what I said in the first reading. We're going to go through your animal spirits. The oracle cards will finish the reading off with the oracle cards. Okay? Let's put them down like this. Alright. And then we're going to go into these individual columns. So the first column is your how the person sees themselves and why, and how you see yourself. How the person sees you truly and why, and how you see them. And how the person really sees the relationship, why, and how you see the relationship and how it makes you feel. Okay, so we're talking about how they truly feel, right? And why they truly feel this way. And because we're looking at the question of what is it that they want us to know but are afraid to tell us. So that's basically, what do they really feel? But they don't want us to know they really feel that. Now, interesting. Let's get right into, before we go into these cards, let's set the stage with your animal oracle cards. So first one off, let's talk about you, camel. The camel, I believe, is representative of you. It is fire element. That right side up triangle without any lines through it is the alchemical symbol for fire. And the camel is very fiery because the camel can keep going for long distances, right? It regenerates itself. It can hold on to the water that, you know, in its body and its humps that it needs as a reservoir. The camel has a very deep spiritual reservoir, okay? And so that's how it comes across. The camel is one can, you know, they are very wise. They can, they have a lot of endurance when it comes to dealing with matters of the spirit, of the heart. They can take a lot. And I think this card is representative of you because in this situation, I believe you're kind of like the one who's enduring, very enduring. And your vulture. Now the vulture is air element, alchemical symbol for air. The vulture is interesting though. The vulture is a much maligned creature. People hate, you know, they think it's disgusting and gross, you know, it eats carrion and dead things. But without the vulture, we wouldn't have, you know, the vulture is a necessary animal. We wouldn't have the space for rebirth. The vulture clears away the debris of the dead. It clears away all of the leftovers of that death, of that change. And so in a lot of ways, the vulture is also a caretaker for those who are going through spiritual spiritual development or spiritual issues, I want to say. Emotional issues. You know, they're the ones who come along and clean up the mess in a way, right? They clean up the mess. They make way for the new. They allow the new to come in, the rebirth to happen. You know, they're a necessary part, and some would say a necessary evil, I guess, into the whole cycle of life. They're essential for balance and rebalancing. You know, without them in our ecosystem, we'd have disease. You know, without animals like that, we would have disease, we would have death, because they, you know, they come in and they clean what is necessary to clean. So part of their purpose is also purifying. So this is a purifying energy. And they appear in a situation, this animal spirit appears in a situation generally when someone needs to be purified, right? When somebody needs to be rebalanced in a way, you know. And again, it's interesting because the camel is very patient. The camel is, like I said, the camel is very enduring, right? And the camel is kind of like, you know, he or she, again, is almost like the perfect partner for someone who is going through a purifying process, because the camel can endure. Sometimes the purification can take a long time. The camel is so resourceful and is very independent in a lot of ways. So the camel really handles a lot of challenges really easily. You know, they can handle judgment and anger. This is what I mean by this kind of like patience, this spiritual endurance that they have. They can handle a lot of different energies that come at them and still maintain their kind of balance. And so when we're talking about somebody who is having to go through a purifying period, the camel can be a great kind of like calming, you know, grounding animal, right? Okay, so let's get right into the cards. Interesting that we have that dynamic here, right, between the two of you. And like I say, I want to say that you are the camel because of your endurance and your independence in a way. You don't have someone who wants to hide things would not represent with camel, because that independence makes, you know what I mean? There's no need to hide. Whereas someone who is going through a self-purification process or a purifying process or clearing out some old things, they may not want you to know some of what they're going through or some of what they've been through. And we're going to look at why. So first and foremost, let's look at their card. This person is representing as Queen of Pentacles. So this person is someone who's come from a very difficult place in life. All right. They've come from a the Queen of Pentacles may have a lot of money now and a lot of abundance, but she's come from a very barren place. She's come from a place of nothing. And the Queen of Pentacles talks about building up your abundance through really hard work, right? Through single-mindedness, a nourishing of your goals, right? And I wonder, I think that perhaps we have a situation here where right off the bat, your individual feels a bit judged, because you have judgment. You represent as judgment. It could be that you are that you have certain judgments about life, that you have a certain moral code or a certain set of standards that you live your life by, right? And this person is afraid to a certain degree for you to know everything about where they've come from. Why? They represent with Hermit energy across this Queen of Pentacles. They're on a very deep spiritual journey. I want to say that this person may have done a few things in their past that they're not very happy about, that they probably did out of survival, but they harbor a lot of guilt for it. All right? I think they harbor a lot of guilt for it. It could be that, maybe they cheated someone at one point, or maybe they did something. This person may have, I want to say, and I don't even want to say they cheated someone, because I don't think what they did was something to hurt someone else, but I think it was something that they felt may have felt very ashamed of. They may have been a stripper in a past life. They may have done sex work. They may have done cleanup work. They may have done some kind of work that they're ashamed of for whatever reason. They may have even been, a prostitute at one point. Whatever, or may have resulted in, some kind of illegal activity for a short time because they had to. And I think they harbor a lot of guilt about it. I think they're trying to feel or make amends for it. All right. Let's get further into the reading. You represent with judgment. I'm not saying that you're judgmental, but certainly you have a certain code in your life. It could be that certain things that this person has had to resort to get where they're at, you could never imagine that they've had to do that. And I think they may feel that if you knew, you would be disgusted, or you may not. You may not see them the same way, right? So this is not a case of someone, you know, in the first reading we were talking about some quite a toxic individual in a way. We're talking about somebody here who's really trying their best, but they are really, they have their own sense of spirituality and a moral code that they're wrestling with, certainly with Hermit energy coming out. And so let's move on to how the person sees you. They see you as a 10 of Cups. You're everything they ever wanted. You know, they see you as a 10 of Cups. But what is covering this energy, positive and negative? 7 of Cups. The 7 of Cups talks about possible delusions. Getting things in relationships that don't make you happy. You know, choosing for things, going after things, and, you know, realizing that they were too pie in the sky, that you were never going to achieve them, or you were never going to achieve the happiness you thought you would with them. I think they're afraid. I think they're afraid of disappointing you. You know, I think they're also afraid that somewhere along the line, they're going to find out that they don't deserve this relationship. I think there's some things about their behavior, right? And so I'm going to say this because, Hermit, this is how you see them. And so this is what I was going to say. I think there's some things about their behavior that is why you've come to this reading, because you've noticed them pull back. You've noticed them. This is twice that the Hermit's come out. And so you notice that they're not telling you things, that they're things, it seems like that they're things that they're keeping from you, but you can't quite tell what they are. I think what those things are they're things that have happened in their past that they have had to do, that they've had to resort to. And right now in their lives, they're going through a real spiritual journey. And part of that spiritual journey is kind of trying to come to terms with some of those things that they've had to deal with or do in the past. These are things to do with their money, how they got their money, right? And again, I want to say that maybe they did some kind of work that, you know, they feel ashamed of, or they feel like, you know, not even that they feel so much ashamed of. I'm not even so sure that they feel that ashamed of it, but I think that they're worried that you will feel ashamed of them, that you won't accept that, right? They're afraid that, you know, this 10 of Cups relationship that they have with you, the way they see you as being like everything for them, you won't see them the same way. And so this individual is pulling away at times. It could be that certain things have been happening, like for instance, when you're out on certain occasions, they just act a little differently when other people are around. It could be that those people know their past more. You know, an example would be like, you know, say you're always going out with your friend, with your person, right? You and your person are always going out socializing with your friends or whatever, but there's this one friend or one couple of friends that they never really seem to want to hang out with, and it's weird. You feel like it's weird. You feel like you don't understand why, and it's giving you this kind of like, huh? And they get real into their kind of hermit mode. They're like, no, you go, I'm fine, or whatever. And that's one of the reasons why you're thinking that they're keeping something from you. It could very much be that you know, those people, they don't want to be around those people with you because those people may know them. They may know something about their past. They may have known them before you did. And so your person is uncomfortable. There are probably times that your person is acting for some of you, your person is acting very different at sometimes than at other times. And it's going to be for that reason. Right? Because you may be treading too close to their past or to what they've done in the past or to finding out what they've done in the past, and they've pulled away out of fear. You know, how do you deal with that? I don't know, you know, like, I don't know how you feel. Like, if you're the type of person who thinks that, you know, being a stripper is the worst thing in the world you can be, and your person may have been a stripper for a couple months to pay the rent, then that's something you're going to have to reconcile. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you what to do with this. I guess it's really up to you and how open you want to be. I want to say that this person is truly a very... they have a lot of integrity, real integrity. They don't have any desire to be like a bad person. They have a desire to be an enlightened person, to be a happy person. And so it's not like this is a bad individual who's gotten up to really bad things. It's more or less that this individual is kind of beating themselves up about things that may not be as bad as you think in your eyes, right? Remember, they're going through a purification process. They've got vulture energy with them right now. And so, like I said, they may be lashing out at times in ways that you can't understand. They may be acting in ways that you can't understand. But you're kind of the perfect person for that, because with camel energy, you have that endurance, right? To help them, to work with them, right? To tell them that you're there and that there's nothing that they need to keep from you. How do they see the relationship? Well, Wands, 8 of Wands, right? Right now, they see the relationship as like being quite chaotic. There's a lot of information coming out. I want to say it's quite interesting. I think they also feel, see, what's happening is there's sun. Sun is clarity. And I think they're feeling very much like there's a lot coming out now. There's a lot of truths are starting to come out. A lot of conversations are starting to be had right now. I think that they see that they're ready. They may be coming to a point where they are ready to talk about some of these things with you, right? I think they're feeling a little bit panicky about the relationship, because 8 of Wands is a panicky, chaotic kind of energy. 8 is the number to do with boundaries. So 8 of Wands is when, we've got too much information coming in and we need to set boundaries, or we need to be a little bit more discerning about which information we take and which we throw away. This could be, people's opinions coming in, everybody weighing in on an issue. It could be your own kind of creative ideas running wild. Whatever the case may be, it indicates a period of like really chaotic energy, right? And it could be that a lot of things are happening right now, and your person is feeling very kind of like everything's happening at once. There's a lot of information coming in, and part of this is because sun energy is at play, and sun energy does bring clarity. It does bring things out in the open. It could be that right now things are happening between you and your social group, or things are just happening with you and your person and your life and your relationship, where you're starting to find out a lot about what they didn't want you to know, and it's bringing a lot of it out into the daylight. How do you feel? Interestingly enough, there's some regret. 5 of Cups is there. You feel sad about it. I think, and I wonder if you feel sad about the fact that, it took this long for the truth to come out. 5 is the number for power struggle. So 5 of Cups, we can talk about a power struggle with love and feelings. You may have been feeling like you've been for a long time kind of like trying to pull out what it is, they want to tell you. And I think for some of you, this 5 of Cups just indicates that you're hurt by the fact that they haven't trusted you, right? You're hurt by the fact that they were too afraid to tell you these things. I think for some of you, you're going to feel like, why didn't they think they could tell me this? Like, why did they think I would be so judgmental? And I guess for some of you as well, that's kind of like a call to yourself to, to look perhaps at yourself, or maybe how you come across or how you express yourself. This is a very much a learning process for you too. I don't think this is something that is worth necessarily leaving each other over. There's a lot of feeling here. There's a lot, there's Cups energy, there's emotional energy, there's caring. And there's desire to do right. I think your person is just feeling right now very nervous. 8 of Wands is also nervousness, right? I think they're feeling very nervous, very panicky, very anxious, because right now things are starting to come out. And about, the truth. And they are just terrified. And you, of course, I think when you do find out the truth, some of you will feel some regret for various reasons. I don't know if it's enough that you will want to leave this person, right? I think the regret and the pain will be for various reasons. Like for some of you, it'll be just the fact that they didn't trust you to tell you. Some of you will just feel sad for your person once you find out what it is they've been through. You know, you'll feel regret for them as well. In any case, there is some sadness that will come out here, but your two oracle cards are inner trust and inspiration. All right, and so when we talk about inner trust, we talk about listening to your voice, your intuition, your inner voice. Listen to what that's telling you, right? What you truly believe and feel, you know. And this could be certainly, I think, when it comes to finding out the truth about your person, you do want to listen to your heart here, you know, because judgment is very mental. It's very up in the head. And maybe on the surface, you can be quite judgmental. Maybe you do have a certain set of moral codes or whatever, or edicts, ethics, etc. that you've been living your life by, right? But maybe this is also the first time that you've actually been with someone or been in love with someone who has been guilty of something that you would not approve. But now that you care for them, you know, your whole outlook on it is different. You know, a lot of us are very judgmental about how people should be and how people should live their lives until you're in love with somebody like that. You know, a lot of us have a lot of, you know, people, as society as a whole has a lot of judgments about drug addicts, you know, until you fall in love with one, or until you have children with one, or until your child becomes one, or until your parent becomes one. You know, until that happens, some people have a whole lot of ideas about what should be done with a drug addict, and they're not very nice. But then they suddenly find themselves being touched by it personally, and suddenly it's like they realize that they can't hold those feelings anymore. I think that this might be a case of this here, very much so. And so listen to your inner voice, trust your inner voice, trust your heart to tell you where to go with this. Inspiration is coming in as well. For some of you, I think you're going to be inspired in a very new way by this relationship, by the honesty in the relationship. I think there's, you know, you've got ideas, perhaps some of you, it may change your life in terms of what you want to do. Some of you may start wanting to help people who have gone through whatever your person has gone through. Or, you know, whatever the case may be, you're feeling inspired by this whole kind of relationship and this whole exercise of honesty that's coming out. And so for those of you who've picked this stack, this is a scenario where somebody is, you know, things are coming out to the light of day now. It could be one of the reasons why you've come to this reading. You can tell that your person is ashamed or hiding something from you. But again, this is something that this person is hiding these things because they are very, very afraid that you will judge them. And they're very afraid of losing you, right? And they are very, very keen right now to make amends, to walk the spiritual path, and to be purified. And I think that you, with your camel animal spirit, if you care about this person, you can certainly make the most out of this relationship still, you know, and come to an understanding that honesty is best and opening up to each other is best. Some of you may not be willing to take that ride or take that walk with this person, and that's okay too. But again, it all comes down to your inner voice. How do you truly feel? Okay? All right, I am going to speed up this tape now real quick and put away these cards, and we're going to get right into the third and final reading. All right, we are ready for stack number 3, the final stack, okay? And let's get right into it. We have Scorpion energy and Raccoon energy. Wow. Okay. Let's put this here like this. All right. So Scorpion and Raccoon. Interesting. We'll get into it. I'm not sure who's hooches yet, right? All right. So like with the other readings, because of course you may not have seen the other piles, we start with your animal spirit. I'm not quite sure who's who until I read it. But this is your person's cards, right? And this is how they feel about themselves, how they feel about the relationship, about you, and how they feel about the relationship. how they truly feel, okay? So this may be different from what they've been presenting to you, right? But we're looking at their real feelings here and why the energy is covering those feelings. And then we're looking at how you feel. How do you feel about yourself? How you feel about your person? And how you're feeling about the relationship. All right, let me move this all up a bit. Okay. All right, let's get right into this third reading now. I've cleared out my camera, and so we would not have to have any cuts in this third portion. So let's get right into it, okay? Raccoon energy, right? Beautiful. Raccoon is very talented, industrious, earth energy. The raccoon is just very adept at solving a lot of problems. You know, they can make anything into a tool. They can make anything work to their advantage. They're very good at solving issues, solving problems, coming up with solutions in a bind, right? Raccoons can be quite inquisitive, right? And so here we have in the third reading, some of you guys have picked this. Some of you relate to that because you are that inquisitive type of person. You know, you've perhaps been snooping a bit. Maybe you found out a few things about your person. This isn't bad in any way. This is just raccoon energy, right? The raccoon likes to find out what's going on. They also quite shadowy, right? They work in a shadow. Some of you may have been, you know, looking at, you know, watching your person, watching what they get up to because your suspicions have been raised, right? And so you're in raccoon energy. And so hopefully this resonates with those of you who have picked the third stack, but it's quite interesting because it is, for those of you, you're coming to this question because you've already figured out something, you've already seen something that's kind of caught your eye, and you just feel like, I need to know more, right? Excuse me, I have to take a sip of water. So, then we have your person representing with very fiery Scorpio energy, right? Scorpion energy in this case, right? So separate from Scorpio, which is actually a elemental water sign, Scorpion here is fire, okay? And Scorpion, this person is very passionate and competitive, but they tend to be isolationists, right? They tend to pull away, all right? People who work, you know, this kind of animal spirit is very career orientated, okay? They have very few friends. They can get quite heated. They're very confrontational, right? Passionate, again, like I said, and so career-minded in the sense that they can be quite ruthless, too. They can tend to focus on unresolved issues of the past, so they can hold on to grudges, right? Scorpion, elemental fire energy, animal energy is quite unique. It's quite intense. So oftentimes a person like this who's resonating with this kind of animal spirit, they will want to keep things hidden that they feel protective over. They would want to keep things hidden that that they feel could hurt them, right? Like, so if they've been hurt in the past, they wouldn't want anybody to know about something like that. They're very protective, right? They're very protective of themselves. And like I said, because of this ability to hold on to past pains, sometimes some of the things that they may be hiding is the fact that they've had past pain or that they've had issues in the past. Again, though, this person can be very fiery, very confrontational. And also quite, not elusive, but shadowy as well. So whereas this person is more shadowy in terms of keeping things from you, the raccoon's energy is more shadowy in terms of looking for things, inspecting, watching from the shadows. Scorpion energy is more keeping to the shadows because they want to keep things hidden. All right. So it's quite interesting. The more they want to hide from you, the more you want to know. Right. So this is a very unique relationship. It's certainly with your oracle cards going beyond normal and against the grain. This relationship is extremely unique. Probably even down to you and your person's characters. You guys may be very eccentric. Okay, your person may be very eccentric. You're very eccentric. You guys have almost met each other's match in a way. But yet this issue, which you're quite similar about, but from two totally different reasons, which is this isolation, this shadowy nature, this kind of hiding, right? This hiding energy. So your person feels like the Fool. They feel right now quite new. They feel like they're about to embark on something new, right? Something very, very new in their lives, a whole new chapter in their lives. And the energy that's crossing them is Princess of Discs. Now, the Princess of Discs is very protective, right? She's very protective of like her goals, her dreams, her seeds, the things that she's accomplished, right? She's at the very bottom rung of the disc court cards. She's just beginning to learn and understand the nature of working for abundance, what it takes, how to sow seeds, how to put the work in, how to lay the foundation. You can see here from the picture, she's pregnant. So she's pregnant already with new ideas that she wants to manifest, right? Constantly creating, but she understands the need for remaining grounded. She's beginning at this stage, or at this rung of the court card, she's just beginning to learn that with the material world, you need to remain grounded. There are certain rules that you need to live by. And these are things that she's now learning. She's protective. She's protective of these initial stages, right? You can see that she's in this grove that almost seems to protect her as well. Because as she's learning now, she doesn't want to be vulnerable. Now, your person is feeling like they're about to embark on something really new. And I think what they're keeping already, certainly at this stage of the reading, what they're keeping is just the idea of that, because they are inherently a very secretive and protective person by nature. Now, it could be that this is a new relationship for you and you're just not used to this kind of energy, right? Because my raccoon over here is used to having things kind of out in the open when it comes to relationships. It's not that you want to have to pry or poke or, you know, sneak around and find out what's going on, but you're compelled to when the communication isn't open. And so dealing with a Scorpion type of energy can be quite different. You know, different for you, because it's the same type of behavior, but for very different reasons. And how do you feel? You feel right now quite hopeful, because I think, and for those reasons, you two are kind of, you guys are kind of a really good match, because you both are quite eccentric, right? And so you're very hopeful. There's not, I don't think that this relationship harbors any other kind of strange feelings apart from this kind of dynamic. And so it's a real lesson in learning how to deal with this dynamic for the sake of the relationship, because clearly if you're hopeful, you have feelings for this person. You understand that there is definitely a connection there between you and your person, you know? Now, how do they see you? They see you, interestingly enough, as confrontational, of course. Because Scorpion energy here is confrontational. Remember what I said, they can hold on to grudges. They can be slighted quite easily. So Five of Swords is interesting, because Five of Swords is a power struggle, right? But it's a win at all cost power struggle. I think that sometimes they see you as this way. They see you. I think this person can be quite overcritical. And I think they see you as sometimes behaving this way, as behaving a Five of Swords. Like, I think they see you as being childish sometimes. And I don't know that you really are childish necessarily. I mean, the raccoon is mischievous in a lot of ways. But I want to say that a lot of it, I think, is because it's just the Scorpion's nature. The Scorpion's nature is to be quite severe. You know, they're quite judgmental. You know, you're talking about, you know, someone who's very passionate and competitive. So it's like a standard, you know, there's always a standard. That stinger can always come out and sting you with criticism. And so, in a way, they see you this way because a lot of people, I think they see a lot of people this way. It's people who just are not serious enough, right? You're not serious enough, you play too many games, you take too many liberties, and you're kind of like, really? Right? And crossing this is Three of Cups. It's interesting, and I think that this is because you are probably extremely sociable. You probably get along with a lot of people, and I think that this also gets them hacked off a little bit. Because I think that they may not get as along with individuals as you do because of their nature, right? And so they see you as kind of, what are you doing? Are you cheating to get, you know what I mean? Like, are you, what, you know what I mean? I think they will accuse you, for instance, I think this person will probably accuse you of like kissing ass for your friends, right? This is the type of person that when you go home and you say you go home from being out with friends and they're like, why you always got to be so Joe? Why you always got to kiss their ass? And you're like, wait a minute, I don't do that. These are my friends. I'm just being normal. They're being normal with me. Like, I'm not doing anything particularly special but being me. And they're like, no, why are you you're such a pushover. And it's like, no, I'm not a pushover. I am who I am, and I'm not a mean bastard like you, and you're just jealous because our friends like me more than they like you. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of these type of scenarios. And I'm laughing in a way because it's like, you know this, your friends know this, right? But your person being so in their Scorpion energy, they don't quite see it. Maybe they see it a little. They don't think it's as funny as you do. But certainly it's just like, yeah, our friends like me more than they like you. They tolerate you because of me. They laugh at you behind your back because you're so damn serious. And so this is the type of person who's going to keep things from you because they are serious, because they feel like they want to have a bit of power, a bit of control. I don't necessarily think that they're really a bad person for you. All right, I don't think that they're being particularly evil. It's just that they are really caught up in Scorpion energy. And it's like, this energy isn't bad, it's just serious. It's ambitious. It's unrelenting. It's unforgiving. And I'm quite tickled by it because I'm a Sagittarius myself. And, it tickles me. Scorpios tickle me, honestly, because it's like, I could see all of this angst and and I could see where it all comes from. And I just feel, to me, it's just like, I understand it comes from a good place, and it's good intentions, right? But the seriousness of it all just makes me giggle. And certainly, it's like I said, it's one of those things that when you're out and about, you're enjoying each other's company, but you're certainly the more popular one. And this really gets up your person's ass. It gets their hackles up. And I think sometimes they keep things from you because of that. I think sometimes they resent the fact that your friends like you more than they like them. I think secretly they would love to be more popular, but they can't help but be so serious, right? And how do you see them? Stamina, 9 of Wands. You see them like, oh, God, sometimes it's so much energy to put up with you. It's a lot of energy to put up with this person, I'm laughing because, as an empathic reader, sometimes I do get like feelings come through with the readings, and I'm giggling because I know that most of the time, for those of you who are resonating with this, your person does make you laugh, but at other times, in all seriousness, it is really exhausting sometimes to deal with them, to deal with their paranoia, their accusations. Is this gonna there we go. To deal with their paranoia and accusations, to deal with their constant griping about other people. To deal with their anger issues, right? Their seriousness and their anger issues, right? And then also to deal with some of the things that you feel like they're keeping from you, like some of the deeper things that they're maybe not talking to you about. And I think those things aren't anything necessarily serious. I don't think I don't think this person or your person would keep something like an affair from you or anything like that. I think if they're keeping things from you, they're things they believe they need in a way to maintain authority and power, right? To pull out of the bag, like, well, I knew this, It's not nefarious things, right? It's more just little, really unconsequential issues, but they're that type of person that they're just naturally secretive. You know, if they start doing something new, a new project, they don't want to tell you about it. They're like, you don't need to know. You know, I'll tell you when it's finished. You know what I mean? They're not going to necessarily always tell you what they're doing as they're doing it. And how do you deal with that? You know, I think you have a conversation. Like, look, you know, it's up to you to decide how you deal with that. I can't tell you that. You know, you have to make the choice of whether or not you want to have a conversation with them about it, whether or not you're willing to deal with it or not deal with it. That's up to you. I can only kind of intuit to you kind of the nature of why they are acting elusive with you or why they keep things to themselves, you know. This type of person just needs to have a sense of privacy because it gives them a sense of control. They feel like they have a sense of control of their own lives. They're naturally a little bit paranoid, so they don't trust people. And a lot of times they will keep secrets that make no sense to keep because the only reason they're keeping them is because of that little tinge of paranoia that they have. That little tinge of just distrusting people and what they're able to do to them. You know, how they may be able to hurt them with information or with knowing things about them. You know, this person keeps things in a way to protect themselves and to protect you. Whether it's from a misguided point or paranoid point or not, that is the ultimate reason. It's to protect them and to protect you. And so that's the reason why I say that this person is not necessarily so toxic or nefarious. It's just that they're complicated, right? How do they see the relationship? Three of Pentacles. They see it as a work. They see it as a partnership. As their support system, as someone, you know, through you, together with you in this relationship, you guys can increase your abundance. All right. Adjustment is coming out. Justice. In the Thoth deck, justice is actually the 8th card. It's a balancing, and understanding. For some of you, they see this as a marriage, you know, as something that is, destined, fated, right? With justice coming in, they feel like this relationship is right. They feel like this relationship is what they deserve and what you deserve in a way, right? They see certainly an honesty in the relationship, a balance in the relationship. It can be that sometimes this balance, right? They may feel threatened. They may feel like the balance of the relationship could be thrown off by outside influences. They're very protective of it. All right? They're very protective of this partnership that they have with you. They're very protective to, I think they understand the need to balance, you know, certain things in their lives to make sure that this relationship continues despite their behavior. Right? And how do you see the relationship? The Empress, creativity. Interestingly enough, this relationship feels good to you, feels nurturing. You get a lot of sense of creativity out of it, a lot of inspiration. This person really inspires you a lot. This relationship, the dynamic that you have with this person really inspires you. It makes you feel even more creative. This is what I mean. You guys are very much matched, okay? And I think this is just a case of you guys really both emitting the same kind of very shadowy, very secretive energy with each other for very different reasons. But I think certainly for a lot of you, this person is not hiding anything that is hurtful or nefarious. They are simply a very secretive individual because of the various reasons I've given for their nature. And you naturally are very inquisitive as well. Now, interestingly enough, you have these two oracle cards. And this is why I said you guys are really matched for each other, because you have going beyond normal and against the grain. So going beyond normal is accepting that sometimes the answer to life is not, the typical answer. For some people, yeah, going to college and getting a college degree and getting a career is the path for them. But for some people, that's not their path. For some people, going out in the world and maybe apprenticing under a master glass blower somewhere is the way for them. It may not be what's considered normal, or it may not be considered right for their society's norms, but right now their desires require them to go beyond what's considered normal. To go past what's considered, the way we accept things in society, right? And so going beyond normal talks about being an eccentric, and reveling in your eccentricity, and it's perfectly matched with Against the Grain. Against the Grain talks about how life can sometimes go in very, very different ways. Sometimes you need to buck the trend. Sometimes you do need to actually go against the grain. When everybody's telling you to go one way, you go another way, because that's the way that's going to work. And so both of these oracles talk about the fact that this relationship, like I said in the very beginning, it's very eccentric, it's very unique. You are both very eccentric characters. I think you both fit together extremely well. The problem is, of course, is that sometimes when two people are very similar and they fit together, they also then suffer for the same problems. And of course, here what we talk about is go against the normal and go beyond normal and against the grain. Don't use the typical sort of solutions that everybody else does for your relationship, because your relationship is not typical, right? And so typical solutions aren't going to work. Find solutions that work for you. You're both extremely eccentric, extremely creative people, I feel. So find a way for you two to communicate. There's something that brought you two together anyway. There is a meeting of the minds here. There's a really high level of mutual respect, okay? And so, perhaps it's time to not listen to your friends. Don't listen to the people around you who may be interfering into this relationship, or who may be trying to tell you how your person should be acting. Remember, your person is about to start something quite new. For some of you, maybe your person is about to start a new job or a new endeavor. And so right now, they are feeling particularly vulnerable. When Scorpions start new endeavors and they feel particularly vulnerable, they become more secretive. This is not a slight against you, but it could be that for some of you, you may have outside influences or people or friends telling you one thing about the way it should be, right? And you're realizing it's very different, because you and your person are very different. You're not the normal average, right? You're beyond that. You're eccentric. You're artists. You're just, even if you're not artists, and you may have dull jobs, but something about you, both you and your person, is that you are just outside of the stereotype or outside of the norm, right? You are unique, extremely unique, in a very creative way. And this is such a blessing that you guys found each other. And so find a way that fits for both of you to communicate, to talk about this secrecy. Just because Scorpions embody, this animal spirit embodies that kind of dynamic, doesn't mean that they're outside of having a conversation and learning. It's not like a Scorpion will forever just be stuck. This is just an animal spirit that your person is embodying right now. This is not the end all and be all of your person. You can still have a conversation with them. You can still say, look, I understand these eccentricities about you. I understand your desire to be secretive, but I am the type of person who's extremely curious. And when you become secretive with me, I become anxious. And so if you don't want me to become anxious, then you need to share things with me, And so there's a very different way that you and your person are going to relate to each other than anyone else. And I would behoove you both, especially you, not to listen to those around you who are not in your position, who are not eccentric, who are not artists, who don't know what it's like to live life against the grain or to go beyond the normal, because they're not going to at all understand your person or why you're with them. I understand. I've had a couple of Scorpios in my life, and I can perfectly understand this type of animal energy and the desire and that you may have for them, and the magnetism that they hold. I've seen, the payoff for putting up with all of that, and it's a big payoff. So for some of you, you may find that, the payoff of being with this person is much more than following the advice of your girlfriends or your homies, your boys, or your family letting you know, telling you, oh man, you shouldn't deal with her. It's like, you know yourself what you get back from this person and whether or not it's worth it. All right, so this is your third reading for the question of what is it they want me to know but are afraid to tell me. All right, folks. Thank you so much. If these readings resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Help me grow my channel so I can do more and more of these readings. This is what I do full time. And so I want to be able to do even, more pick-a-cards. I'm going to continue to have my polls on my community tab on my homepage of my channel. Just go to the community tab. You'll see the poll each week. Which pick-a-card question shall I answer? I'll do at least one a week, maybe 2 a week, depending. You'll see in that section. But for right now, I'm just going to tell all you guys, thank you so much for watching this pick-a-card on the question of what is it that they want me to know but are afraid to tell me. I love you guys so much. You have a wonderful day, and I shall see you on the next pick a card message. Bye-bye.